we trying to live like there's no consequences. They tell us how to live right. We get all defensive. That's not the way that life works.
Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for watching Real Talk with Helen. I'm your host, Helen, and we are here this Thursday. It's a snowy, rainy kind of day, so hopefully I can uplift your spirits because the weather is not the best today. It is the 1st of March, believe it or not. I don't know where the beginning of the year went, but we're already in March, so hopefully that's a sign that spring will be coming soon. So on Real Talk with Helen, this is our first episode, by the way. So I come to you, we're going to talk about real topics that are important or that I think is important because this show is all about me and my beliefs. So I'm thankful to WHPR for allowing me to have this platform to express my opinion. Today we're going to talk about some important issues that we face today. Unfortunately, we don't have to deal with just regular bullying anymore. That used to be the case. Now we have cyberbullying, we have cyber threats, and these are issues that unfortunately we have to deal with today. So today we're going to talk about that. Hopefully, if you have any opinions or anything, you can call in. The number to call in is 313-868-0342. So feel free to call in if you want to voice your opinion on this matter because it's very serious. And for one, when I was growing up, we had bullying, we had issues like that, but it was not as severe as it is now. My son recently was in an issue at school, and I won't mention the school district because I don't want to, put him on Front Street. However, his school is not very culturally diverse, so he's like the only African American student in all of his classes. So he had an incident where a kid decided to change the N word, so to replace the G's in Nigga to B's. So he seemed to think that that was okay, and he told my son that you are a nibba. Of course, I was livid. Me and my husband were just livid about this. And so we decided, I was glad, thankful, and I let my son know that I was thankful that he did the right thing by coming to us and telling us this instead of taking matters into his own hands like so many children have done in the past. And we've seen the results of that. So I was really, really glad that he took that route instead of the latter. The school system was excellent in handling this situation. I'm so thankful that he goes to a school district where they understand and they want to combat this problem, which they call racial bullying. And they gave the kids which in my opinion was assignments to do so they could learn about it. And the best way to combat anything, in my opinion, is to educate and communicate. And so that's what was done in the issue. So hopefully those children that were involved in those events, and that was one of the things, I didn't like point the finger and say, well, you did this or you're racist or whatever. I wanted those kids to be educated because it's not going to help the children. They were raised that way, or someone that had influence over them, help them with that negative view and those negative derogatory words. So it was important to me that those children were educated in racial bullying and racial discrimination. So I was very pleased that that happened in my son's school district. So not everyone's that lucky though. We see situations all the time where there's cyberbullying. And hopefully when we show Attorneys Are Us next, that comes up next at 1:00, we can ask the attorney about that. We can ask, what are the laws against cyberbullying? And because I know that some kids post things online, Snapchat or whatever platform they use, and then that can be the livelihood of your child, or some children even commit suicide based on what people say about them. It's very cruel. So I want to know, like, what's done with those children. Are there laws against that? And look at this beautiful background I have. I mean, isn't it lovely to be brought to you in my own beautiful home? No, that's funny. Um, so, those are the things we're going to talk about today. So I think we need to take these things seriously. So what I try to do in every situation that I talk about, or every subject that I talk about, is give you an exit strategy, or give you tools that you can use to help you if you're in this situation. If your child is being bullied, and when I say bully, I mean someone is doing something or saying something to make them feel uncomfortable. First, you need to address what that is, because some children don't understand quite what bullying is. So you need to explain to your child and educate your child on what bullying is. Okay, if someone says that move up in line, you're moving too slow, I don't think that that's necessarily bullying. But if they're pushing your child, or calling your child derogatory names and belittling them, condescending, then that's something that needs to be addressed. I think the first thing that should be done is your children should be talking to someone in authority at that school that they feel can be part of their safety net. And the reason I say that, because it needs to be someone that they're comfortable with. That might be, in my son's case, the vice principal. He loves his vice principal, and they have that kind of rapport because they had similar situations happen to them in their past. It might be a school counselor, it might be a teacher, whoever it is. It needs to be someone. It might be a lunch aide. Whoever it is, they need to talk to that person about, in addition to their parents. And why I say that is because not everybody in authority will handle things that way. Sometimes a lunch counselor might be busy, or might be not able to address the situation at hand. So you need to talk to your parents as a follow-up. Let them know this is bothering you. Let them know you're having anxiety about it. Let them know that when you go to school, you just don't feel you know, enthused. You don't feel, like you want to do your work, because this is constantly on your mind. Because it's important that we address those feelings and those issues that you're having, because everyone's feelings are valid. And if your child is coming to you sincerely and they're telling you that this kid talks about me every day, he talks about, everything I do and has something to say, then that's an issue that needs to be addressed with that child. What I will say is also let your child know that it's a process. It's not going to cure itself in one day. Okay, this kid is bullying you, you go to school the next day, and things are going to be okay. No, it's not going to happen that way. What you need to do is allow time to change. Because I know in my bullying history, I was a victim of bullying. And it was a situation where I had to learn how to withdraw myself for a period of time. And then eventually, someone else became the victim of that person, and I was like, well, it's just time kind of healed it. So I notice in situation like that, it's best to remove yourself from the situation, and try to have contact with that individual as less as possible. So that's why it's important to involve the school authorities, because they can change schedules if needed, or just have the teacher keep an eye, change seats, whatever needs to be done as a temporary fix for that situation, because it does definitely need to be addressed. Also, a lot of times, kids are going to say things cruel, and they're going to do things to hurt your feelings because, for whatever reason, they might want attention. They're developing relationships, learning how to get along with each other. They're learning the things they like and the things they don't like. And, so with that change, it comes, the development of their attitude. So, like I said, it's important that we talk to our children at school. The one thing I want to get across more than anything is do not post. Do not post anything that you see, anything that you hear. You need to talk to the proper authorities. Children are being taken away from us. They have 100% success rate in convicting cyber threats, or school threats. They call them terrorist threats. Whatever you refer to them as, it doesn't matter. You need to have a conversation. Okay, we need to have a conversation. The conversation that I had with my son is that by no means are you allowed to transfer information that's secondhand to anyone. You are not. He's not on social media, thank God, but you are not allowed to use any other platform than your mouth. You need to talk to somebody. If you know of a child that has threatened to blow up the school, then you need to tell the principal, and then you need to tell your parents. That's it, in that order. There's no posting anything online, because see, what is happening is that this is another way that they can take our children away from us, and they can say that you made a threat and they had to close the school down. So they're prosecuting children and giving them 20 years, and you're in middle school. So if you go to school, if you go to prison for 20 years, then that's most of the core part of your life when you're developing, when you're learning to be an adult, and you will miss out on that because you did something foolish and you did something that your elementary mind doesn't understand it will be a great consequence for. So it is important, parents, that we talk to our children, you have a conversation with them, and let them know the severity of this. And that in the event that they do hear something, or they suspect, foul play, or someone is going to bring harm to themselves, or the school, they need to contact the proper authorities and the parents. Um, so what should we do about this bullying? I'm kind of like, on the fence about it. I know what Chris Rock said was, as a comedian, it was funny, but it's somewhat true. He was like, bullying wasn't the same when we were growing up. Bullies kind of motivated us. I remember, I had a friend. When I was about 5 years old, they used to bully me every day, and that motivated me to be better, to be stronger. And she would be like, you don't know how to do this, or I didn't know how to play hopscotch, and she made sure that I knew that. Well, you don't know how to do it, and so I was out there. I remember in the rain, trying to learn how to do this, and I became really, really good at it, even better than her. So I just thinking of that scenario kind of, coincides with what Chris Rock was saying, that, bullies used to motivate us. And just like, if somebody's hating on you, then you should use that as motivation. So I guess we had a different approach, and it wasn't a lot of different mediums where we could display our opinions like there is now, like, social media and the internet, and you can even communicate with people on video games now. Back then you just put a quarter in and play your game, and that was it. It wasn't any communication with anybody else. So it's so many different platforms and mediums to express yourself now, that we have to make sure that we watch those platforms. And if your children are on social media, then you need to supervise what they're posting. If you see anything inappropriate, I mean, I have lots of employees that work for my company and work for my clients, and I'm responsible for all of those people. So yes, I look on their social media accounts. When they're hired by myself or my clients, they have to sign a contract that they let us know all of their social media outlets, because if they do anything, to compromise the privacy of any of the patients, or any of the other people that work for the practices, they can lose their job. So it's important. Don't think, and I tell people this all the time when they work for companies, large companies, small companies, whatever. Don't think your employer is not looking at your social media site. If you have extreme views, then you might want to come up with another platform to express those views. Like, why don't you get your own TV show and you can talk about whatever you want to. But when you are working for someone, and regardless if you're a W-2 employee or a 1099, an independent contractor, your views and your opinions do matter. So if you're working for geriatric patients, and you're caring for them, and then you talking about them on social media about personal things with them, then that's not acceptable. So it could be your livelihood. So all of this cyberbullying, it can be controlled, because if you guys step up as parents and supervise what your children are watching, what they're posting. You know, it's a lot. It's like a narcissistic world now. Everybody wants to look good. They've got all of these filters that I've noticed, you know, make you look like animals, which I think is ridiculous. But, you know, people are taking pictures and they're looking like pigs and, you know, all kind of doggy ears. And I don't know what you know, not to down anybody that wants to do that, because I have friends and family that do that as well. I just personally don't want to look like an animal. And I just don't feel like that is something that I want to display to my son, that it's okay. He hardly even likes to take pictures, and I'm okay with that because it's so much. You know, I find myself even sometimes, you know, taking a picture and snapping a picture all the time. I mean, we are so into ourselves in this generation, it is ridiculous. And there's so many things that we need to focus on besides us. You know, I mean, you got your children. I mean, I see people posting things online and their house is just ridiculous. Look how clean and beautiful my house is here. No. But you know, I say that to say that you need to make sure all your ducks are in a row and make sure you have your things together before you you know, post those things, and you know, make sure that it's within what you believe, you know. So, if your children are on social media, once again, make sure that they have rules and you let them know, you know, I don't know what your rules would be. Maybe you can put a time, how many posts they can do a week, and they have to be approved by you. I mean, you know, I mean, you have a marketing company. If you work for a marketing company, anything that you are going to do for them, you have to get it approved. So I would say, as a parent, anything that your child wants to post, you know, then you might want to approve it and see if it's appropriate, because you don't want your child to be a victim of that. And then, you know, people are allowed to comment on these posts. So you need to let your child know realistically you have no control over someone's First Amendment right or what they say. Everyone has a right to say what they want to say, and sometimes they say things that are very cruel. So keep that in mind and make sure that your child is prepared. That you know, of course, I think you're beautiful. You know, your dad thinks you're beautiful, but not everybody is like us. And the real world is sometimes cruel, and they'll tell you, you know, flat out, you know, you look horrible, or I don't like that, or so you have to be prepared for not just the good comments. And I noticed that on social media, people take pictures and they just want something good all the time, a positive response, and not always are we given that. So just keep those things in mind. Um, Also, I have a few things that I would do to keep the school safe, because we talked about this a little bit on the show last week, and then we talked about it on Renee's show as well. I really had fun with Renee's show. It's kind of like a Dish Nation moment. I felt kind of, you know, like Dish Nation-ish on there. I really enjoyed it. But we talked about safety in the schools, which is a big issue to me. They just had a situation at my son's school today where they were locked down in the school, and they were not able to leave the class because of some type of threat. So, you know, there's so many students and there's so many ways that they can, you know, threaten, and it just every time it interrupts your child's education, and it's just unfortunate, you know. So we gotta make sure that our kids are the eyes and ears out there, because there's not enough cameras to help us out in this situation. They need to report anything abnormal, anything uncomfortable, any suspected behavior, anything that's out of the norm. They need to report it to authorities, because you know it's just getting out of hand, you guys. Um, I mean, it's to the point where, you know, what do you do? I mean, only thing you can do is try to prepare. I've armed my child with extra strategies. We talked about that a little bit last week. In the event of a school shooting, what should you do? And the best advice that I gave was to, depending on the range that the shooter is in, to either take cover or run for, you know, run as far as you can from the event if you're further enough from the shooter to be able to get away. So, that's all you can do. And most important, in my personal belief, is prayer. Um, a lot of these problems happen when we took prayer out of the schools, as I've expressed many times. And you can say what you want. You can have your own belief. That's fine. But I know that when I used to pray in school and even pledge allegiance to the flag, it was a certain amount of morals that we had and respect that we had for the school and the system. Yeah, kids were bad. Yeah, kids, got into fights. There was bullying, but nothing like it is now. We had respect and we had love for each other. There were people that you didn't like, but no one wanted to kill you. You didn't have to worry about your life. I never heard of this until I believe it was Columbine. I mean, if you know of other situations, let me know. But I don't recall anything this extreme. So hopefully the nation can unite. And it seems like we're really divided. It seems like it's a red and blue issue. But one thing we need to realize is that we all live here, and regardless if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you have children, this is something we need to address. And I know that Walmart and Dick's have taken a stand to only sell rifles to people that are 21 or older. I think that's a good gesture. Do I think it's enough? No. There's a lot of moving parts to this. There's a lot of things that we have to do. I've given some of the things that we need to do, but I don't think arming the teachers is gonna be it. Because then you got a personal choice. Some teachers don't want to be armed. For those that do, there was one teacher that was charged um, for keeping the kids unsafe. He had a gun. I guess he felt that he needed a gun. I guess he was a CCW holder, and he felt the right to bear his arms in school. So it just depends. We just need to pray. We need to stand strong, and we need to ask God to help and guide us. Stay tuned for Attorneys Are Us. We will be on probably in about 5 minutes here, and we're going to try to talk about this issue further from a legal standpoint, so that if your child, in the event that your child is being bullied or a victim of cyberbullying, racial bullying, cyber threats, from a legal standpoint, what can you do and what resources are available to you? I just want to remind you that every Thursday at 12:30, I'll be here live with Real Talk with Helen, where we could talk about various issues depending on what's going on in our country, and see what we can do to help, because we can help. Because change is with every individual, and eventually, if everybody gets on the bandwagon, you will see drastic change. I'd like to invite you to watch Helen's Heavenly Delight at 2:30 with my beautiful mother, Helen Briggs, who will be on the show. She has her own show. She sells baked goods. She's the best in the world, in my opinion. And she bakes all of her baked goods with love and with Jesus. So you can't go wrong with that combination. So I just like to encourage you to patronize her as well. Also, Lavish Towing. Lavish is also a co-host with Renee, and I had a wonderful time with him on the show last week. And I like to promote anyone's business that's doing well. So Lavish Towing is available. If you can look them up. I don't have the number with me. Sorry, Lavish. But if you need your car towed, I don't know. I think you could just personally call him and have it towed, whatever. Because of the bad weather today, that's something that you might want to have a tow man on. Definitely in your contacts. That's for sure. Sure. So that's a resource available for you. Remember, we talked to D'Angelo a couple of weeks ago with MCA, and he was talking about roadside assistance and things like that. So we live in Michigan, guys, so you need to have a plan B in the event that something happens to your vehicle or anything. So be ready for that. When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So remember that. That's my motto, and I try to live by that. So hopefully things are going well for you guys. It's just been a blessing to be able to be here with you every week, every Thursday, and be able to have these conversations to talk about issues. And I don't care, you don't have to call in. I just want to be able to talk about things that are important, that are on my mind, give you resources so you can have a family conversation. And every now and then, have dinner at the table with your family. You'd be surprised. Put away the cell phones. It's not going to kill you. Put away all the phones, all the distractions. Just put one topic out there and have a conversation. And you'd be surprised. And if you want to learn, I'm planning to watch the movie Wonder this weekend. It's been referred to me about bullying and things like that. And so me and my son are going to watch that this weekend. So next week I could kind of report to you on that movie. And any resources that I have available for you, I'm always available. You can reach me at Real Talk with Helen at outlook.com. You can also reach me via phone at 248-805-2000. We will be on Live with Attorneys Are Us, and we'll talk about these issues more in depth so we can talk about what we should do in the event of bullying or cyberbullying and things like that. Thank you so much for watching Real Talk with Helen. I'm your host, Helen, and you guys have a blessed day.